Welcome to this edition of Morgan You Asked For podcast. 15th tax day. Trev, you got your taxes done?
About a month ago. They're done.
All right. There you go. Taxes are done. Tax day about a little after 9 o'clock. Here on a Tuesday. Windy. Is it windy out there? It's been super windy here. I was at a golf tournament the last 2 days. Super windy both days. Today was much, much better than yesterday. We were down in Centerville today. Yesterday in Ankeny was the temperature is not horrible, but it was so windy. It was just really, really cold.
I'm in Phoenix. It was 92 yesterday and like 90 today or something like that. I don't know. It's warm, so not very windy. Little different weather than what you guys have got. I played golf first round of the year yesterday.
Well, I played golf on Sunday with the boys, and it was windy Sunday as well. So I mean, it's springtime in Iowa. I mean, it is supposed to be windy, but I do think it's getting worse.
Wind. I'd rather play in light rain or a little bit of cold weather than wind. I feel like wind's the worst when it comes to golf. It just you can't hear the people talking next to you. Your shots are going more left or more right than normal, and it just I'd rather there be a light rain than wind when I'm golfing.
Yeah, wind is just the great equalizer, and you know we didn't play great yesterday. We played much better today, but it was one of those. If you're off just a little bit, and then the wind gets a hold of it, it knocks it down or pushes it the wrong way or whatever. It does exactly what you don't want it to do, and then it just exuberates the little bit off that we all are when we play golf anyway.
Yeah, that's right. Unless you're playing in a 4-man like I did yesterday, then it doesn't matter. So
right.
You don't really care if you mess up. But yeah, wind's always the worst. And speaking of golf, I think that's where we got to get started.
Yep.
First thing tonight, at least, was the Masters. Rory coming through, going into the final round with the lead, then dropping it, then looking like he's going to run away with it. Then 13, he loses it again. Here comes Justin Rose. 18, he hits a perfect drive. You think it's over. Then he goes in the sand. Yep. It's the way it had to be, I guess, for Rory, right?
Yeah, not easy. And people forget that Oberg had a putt to take the lead, I think, on 16.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was it most likely he wasn't going to make it, but he actually had the putt for the lead. And then he went for it and tripled. I think he maybe doubled 17 and then tripled 18. So he lost. And that's so he lost the golf tournament, but it's amazing how much money these guys lose. If he'd have got second, it's like $2.6 million, and he got like sixth, and it's like $400,000. I mean, like a $2 million swing by two bad holes.
Yeah, I saw something. He lost a ton of money there. So yeah, it got wild there at the last. But like they say, it was true this year again. The back nine or the Masters doesn't begin until the back nine on Sunday, and that's exactly what happened again this year.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Rory. He had 4 double bogeys on the week, 2 on Thursday, and then 2 on Sunday. First champion ever to have 4 double bogeys. So you think about. So he lost 8 shots and still shot 11 under par. So if he would have just done half of it, he would have been 15 under. And then he missed short putts again. I mean, he had a great shot on 15 and missed a 5 or 6 footer for eagle. He still got birdie. And then 18, he missed one. I mean, he had a great shot in there on 17. But yeah, that the wedge play is his downfall. It really is, and it almost cost him. 13 was a wedge after he laid up, went into the creek, and then a wedge on 18 that went into the bunker and couldn't get up and down.
Yeah, he's been working on his wedges a lot. They've been talking about that. 13, I think that's just a classic. He's the best player in the world right now. That's a nerve shot. He didn't get through with it. His touch was off on that. That was total nerves. 18, I felt like it was just it was more just it was both nerves, right? But 13 especially, because all he had to do was just get it over, get to the middle of the green.
Where he didn't even need to. Yeah, it just kind of the one on, and he talked about it. He was 2 yards different in the playoff than he was in regulation, but he said the lie was so much better. He was a little bit further away from that bunker. He was relatively close to the bunker on his drive in regulation. And so I think the lie wasn't great. and then obviously he didn't get through it. But then, and hats off to Justin Rose. I mean, he had 10 birdies on the day. Sat for an hour. I mean, obviously he's hitting balls and everything, but comes back, hits a perfect drive, hits a really good iron in. Probably, I mean, I'm assuming it was a wedge, maybe a 9-iron at most, to 12 feet. I mean, it was a good shot, and just missed the putt. But how about Rory just stepping in and almost getting a tap in? I mean, that's. And did you watch that putt though? It didn't just go in the center; it went left side. I mean, it wasn't just he about yipped that one too.
He about missed it, and Justin Rose. That was an amazing day. I was looking on DraftKings going into Sunday, and they had some bets you could make where who would have the most birdies on Sunday.
Yeah,
it didn't matter how many bogeys or pars anyone had birdies. So I threw one on Schauffele, Reed, and Max Homa. Obviously, I didn't win that because it was Rose, but I think Rose was like 40 or 30 to 1 to have the most birdies. So
that would have been a good bet.
Would have been a good bet. And then going into Sunday too. So I bet Bryson at the casino before the tournament. I had Rory in our pool. Yep. And then I also had Jason Day and Patrick Reed. So going into the final day,
I was covered pretty good.
Yeah, I thought so. And then I wasn't going into the back nine after a hole 11, 12, 13. I mean, like I said, probably going into Sunday, I was probably like an 8.8 on the confidence scale. Like one of my guys will win. I don't need both Rory and Bryson to go low, but one of them probably will. Neither did, of course.
Right.
And speaking. So anyway, I ended up surviving though. Rory got it done. But yeah, that final putt there on the playoff hole, you're right. He came close to missing that one too. And that's as maybe not nerve-wracking, but just up and down of a final round that I can remember at the Masters. My favorite Masters was 2019 when Tiger won.
Yep.
Had the big comeback. Our buddy Vince was at that one, which that's probably got to be the best Masters to be at. But this one, as far as the drama goes, it's the most dramatic Sunday I can remember. And then you just saw Rory break down on 18 there instantly. I mean, it was just the weight of the world was off his shoulders finally.
And that's where it was. I mean, it was pressure. It was 11 years of pressure. It was the LIV PGA Tour pressure stuff. It was life pressure. It was, you could just feel it. People forget he had a 4-shot lead going into the back nine in 2011. It would have been his first major. Now he went on to win the U.S. Open. The next major was the U.S. Open at that time and won it by 8 shots. But he's had his opportunities, and he has truly blown it. And he blew it last year at the U.S. Open. He's blown others. Now this is his 5th one. This isn't, it's not his first major, but he's the 6th person to have the career Grand Slam. The most it had ever taken any of the others was 3 times, and he was 11. That's impressive. The actual impressive, it's not that Rory took 11 years to do it. It's that everybody else, a few of them did it in their first try, and then no one had taken more than 3 tries to do it.
Yeah, for Rory, I mean, it's like you said, 11 years. Every time he came into this tournament, it's almost like Phil at the U.S. Open, or has been over the years, where each year that goes by, it's more and more pressure because your time's running out. At some age, you're just not going to be able to compete. Now, Augusta's a little bit different. Older guys can't compete there because it's not a super long course compared to like a U.S. Open. But yeah, for Rory, I was happy for him that when he and Bryson teed off on one, it felt like a UFC event. It felt like Dana White should have been walking out, and one of the Buffer brothers should have been out there announcing, like golfing out of the red corner, Bryson DeChambeau, and golfing out of Ireland. Rory, I mean, that whole PGA versus LIV thing that's going on right now is actually good for golf at the moment. And the Masters, I think, benefits even more because it's the first tournament of the year where all these guys really get together. So it's the Masters on steroids right now with this whole LIV PGA thing they still have going on.
Yeah, it's almost flipped that, 5 years ago it would have been 99% Rory, 1% Bryson. Now it's not, because there's a lot of people that are, and I don't think it's all his fault, but not happy with Rory that when he just crumpled, when the LIV and PGA said they were coming together, which they still have not, he just crumpled and just went with it. And essentially he was the PGA Tour punching bag. That they served him up and he just took it and kind of laid down. And but yeah, I was glad to see him win. He's fun to watch, and he is little. People don't understand how small he is and how far he hits that golf ball. And then it was the funniest thing when he got into the press room. He said, "Well, what are we going to talk about next year?" Which is true, because that was the number one topic every year. And this was the time that many people picked him to win. They really did. They thought this was his best chance. He's playing really good golf. Won the Players Championship, and won a couple other times. His form is really good, and he played the best of the year of everybody this year at the Masters. Even if he would have lost, he played the best. Now, he had some bonehead plays, but overall, over the course of the entire week, he played the best golf.
Yeah, he did. We talked about it in the preview show. Rory was the one guy that I wanted to have betting on, and I didn't. So when I got the first pick in our draft, I know I took Rory over Scotty, and everybody was giving me a hard time over it. I just didn't think Scotty was going to win it, in back-to-back years. I felt like this is the time to take Rory. It paid off, of course. And, one more thing that nobody talked about in this tournament, but my guy that everybody hates, if he doesn't 3-putt 13, he's in the playoff with Rose and Rory, and that's Patrick Reed, who finished solo third. He 3-putted, I think, from 3 feet on 13.
Yes, he did.
If he doesn't do that, he's in the playoff. And speaking to him real quick, if you're looking at next year, and I already bet him, he was 100-1 with this tournament, and he's 90-1 to win the Masters next year. I already threw $10 on him. I don't know what the deal is. I know people don't like him, which I understand, but I think he's got 5 top 10 finishes there now. He's won it. He got third this year.
Right.
He should be 30-1 type guy, not 90-1. I already bet him.
Yeah, that course, just there's certain players, and Oberg is one of those. Oberg, I mean, he's obviously not going to be 90-1. He's going to be probably a 10-1, 12-1 guy, but he's another one. He's, we talked about his disastrous end, but 2 times there, 2 high finishes. He's going to be a guy that's going to compete there every year. Tiger, when he is healthy and when he is there, he will compete every year there. Fred Couples, Bernard Longer, this was his last one. He almost made the cut. I mean, Zach Johnson, best finish since when he won it, and tied 8th. And talk about Scotty, the best player in the world. Him and Rory can go back and forth now, but over the last couple of years, it's been Scotty. He didn't play very good, but what'd he get, 4th or 5th?
Tight, something tight. I think he finished 8 under or something like that.
7 or 8 under. Yeah, so he didn't play bad. He just was never quite in it, but just always made enough. And so he's another guy that's he's always going to be there. Then, of course, you always have your ones that you think you're going to be there, and they just don't. And, a Dustin Johnson-ish or whatever, and he's just, I don't know if he's gotten old or just, again, I don't pay attention to his golf game like I used to when he was on the PGA Tour, and he just plays golf, wins a lot of money, and Koepka's Koepka's, I think, missed the cut by 1. But those guys you haven't heard anything about them yet. Now, Koepka's been a U.S. Open and PGA Championship. That's been his 2. So those are the next 2 majors, and he's won both of them multiple times, right?
I know he's won both. I don't know if he's won both of them multiple times. The PGA twice, I'm pretty sure. U.S. Open once, maybe twice. I'd have to look it up. But we know that in both of those, he's going to come to compete. Yeah, Dustin Johnson just feels like a guy that's, he got paid. Don't blame him. Don't blame any of those guys. He got paid, and he'd won his couple majors before all that. He had a lot of heartbreaks too. And the one thing with Rory that we didn't talk about yet is now that he's got one of the biggest monkeys off his back in sports history, even though he had already won majors before this.
Yep.
Does he go on to win another one this year and have a great year, or does he just have a kind of a down year the rest of the way because it's such a weight off of him that maybe he doesn't play as well the remainder of the year?
I almost think it could be Phil Mickelson-ish. He didn't win the Masters for a long time either. But then when he did, he won 2 or 3 pretty quick. And then, obviously he never got the Open, but he won all the others. He went on about a 3-year span, not as a young man. He wasn't super old, but I think Rory's going to have a good year. Now, does he win another major? That's hard. But I think he'll compete. I think he'll be right there. And I would be shocked if he doesn't win Player of the Year.
Yeah, he basically got Player of the Year locked up right now. He's got the Masters, he won the Players, and he's won at Pebble Beach. Right. And it's not even, and we're still in April. So, yeah he's probably going to be Player of the Year. And I think both the PGA and the U.S. Open are both the courses he likes and has won at before.
Yeah,
so
which one's at Coelho?
I haven't even looked. I don't
Must
have
the be they said he's won there 4 or 5 in the regular event there. So kind of one of those courses like Tiger, at Firestone that won 8 times or whatever he did. Obviously that course works for him.
Yeah, but he's going to be the betting favorite in both of those, as he should be. And what would you set his over under at for more major victories the rest of his career? Would you set it at 2.5, 3.5, somewhere in there?
Yeah, I'm going to say at least 3. So I'd probably, I would probably say 3.5. Because I think he's got at least one more Masters. I think he'll win one more PGA. I think that's actually, I've heard the Masters is the easiest to win because of the field is small. The PGA is, I think, the next easiest, even though it's all professionals. And then the 2 Opens are somewhat, the Open, the British Open, as we call it, is so dependent on weather. And if you get the good side, bad side, or just some crazy bounces, we've seen, old guys win there, young guys win there, super experienced, no experience. But I think he wins 3 to 5 more for sure. And it wouldn't shock me for him to get, was he at 5 now? It wouldn't shock me if he gets over 10 because he's still, I believe he's only 35.
Yeah, I'm looking right now because I don't know how many guys have over 10 majors in golf. I'm searching it real quick. If he could get to 10, I think he'd be one of only
3 or 4, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, only 3 guys have ever won more than 10 in the modern era. Hagen, Woods, and Nicklaus. Ben Hogan and Gary Player are at 9. Yep. Tom Watson at 8.
8. Yep.
So, yeah, I'd say the over under 3.5 is probably a good over under bet for the remainder of his career. So, yeah, if he somehow does get to 10 though, he'll probably be the last player that we in our lifetime see do it, if ever.
You never say never. Scotty looks, but Tiger looked like he was on pace to get to 20, and then all of a sudden it stopped. Rory looked on pace to get. He had 4 by the age of 25. You could name his number too, and he took 11 years. Scotty looks good. I think Oberg is a real deal. I watched him some in that indoor Tiger Golf League or whatever, and then this. He is the prototypical. He's always smiling, got a good smile, tall.
And he plays quick. I like that he plays quick.
Yeah, and he plays golf. He knows how to play, and he comes in. He didn't need a year on the Korn Ferry Tour or anything else. He goes straight from college and goes straight to the Ryder Cup and on tour and making headways right away.
Yeah, I'm just interested how I think Rory will at least get 2 or 3 more, the remainder of his career. What I'm just more interested in this year, how does he come out? How does he do? Does he come out, the PGA, is he leading after day 1 and then fades away? Or does he come out and just win it? Is he not even in contention? I'll just be interested to see how he does because you could just tell, like I said, after he won that tournament, won the Masters, it was the weight of the world off his shoulders. And can he get like laser focused again like Tiger would have? Tiger's the only guy that I watched because I didn't watch Jack. Tiger's the only guy that would have a lead and never lose it.
Right. He lost it one time.
Only once.
Time. Yep.
Only once. Otherwise, if Tiger had the lead, you had no chance. With Rory, Phil, even Dustin Johnson over the years, those guys get leads, but they've been known to lose them, whether it's bad drives, penalties that they didn't know about. They got ruled a penalty after the tournament in Dustin Johnson's case.
Oh,
so
Jesus.
Tiger's really the only one that we've ever seen that basically it's over if he gets the lead. Even guys like Rory and Phil have given him away, as we've seen over the years. So it was typical Rory fashion. It was the most up and down I've ever seen a final day. And it, like I said, when they got to 10 and think about Bryson real quick, he got aggressive there on 11 because he thought he had to start making moves. Well, if he didn't do that, he would have been right in contention too. After
I did think of that too. He went for it, and I understand he was 4 or 5 down. Rory was 4 ahead. Thinking I got to do something here. But sometimes you just got to stay the course. You just got to stay the course, and you never know. I mean, every shot makes a difference. But actually, that's who I'm interested to see. Talk about what will Rory do the rest of the year. What will Bryson do the rest of the year in the majors? Obviously, he's going to go back to the Live Tour and play those events, and I'm sure he'll do great in those. But I'm interested to see if he can rebound from not playing well. I mean, he'd be the first to tell you he didn't play well on Sunday. And some of it was he was trying to be aggressive when he needed to be. But, he got the lead after hole 2, and then all of a sudden it went away quick.
Yeah, his irons were off Saturday if you were watching them all day, and then Sunday they were off too. He was trying to play that draw, but it was almost turned into a little bit of a hook for a professional player at least. And you can't control that once you get in. He couldn't shake that shot all day long, so it ended up costing him his short game and putting that were pretty phenomenal all week at the Masters. So I think if he can get his irons figured out, I expect him to be in contention of all these majors. He's changed his image with the fans. You see him high-fiving everybody. He gets into the crowd. Now, he versus Rory, those two didn't really live up to the hype as much as we would have liked. Right. The back 9 sure did.
Oh, absolutely.
But remember last year, now I wonder this year, will we get round 3 between Bryson and Rory at one of these other 3 remaining majors the rest of the year?
Yeah, it would be fun to watch. And I believe it was the most watched. Now, here's an interesting thing that I heard. It was the most people watched the Masters since 2018 when Patrick Reed won it. Not 19. 19 wasn't the highest rated Masters in the last 7 years. It was 18.
Yeah, I don't know if that's because all of Ireland and everybody over there was tuned in, rooting for Rory. Obviously, Tiger is, that's my favorite golfer ever, but there's a lot of people that don't like Tiger because of his things that he's been through out over the years. So maybe people that the year that Tiger won in 19, maybe they just saw he was in the lead or in contention and just decided they didn't want to watch him win it potentially. So maybe that had something to do with it. But yeah, I was not surprised to hear that this is one of the highest rated. And like you said, since 2018, I mean, it was compelling stuff, especially that back 9. Like I said, after hole 11, you thought it was over, and then 12 happens, and then all of a sudden 13, everything just goes to hell for Rory. And somehow,
and you actually, he got super lucky on 10. His ball was close to the water. It didn't. Bryson went in the water. 12, he had a good shot, 2-putt down, just like you're supposed to. So like amen corner, 10, 11, 12, he did really well. He did exactly what you're supposed to do. And it was 13 that got him.
Yeah, just a little wedge shot over. I mean, and then he had that, like you said, that eagle putt on 15 that right when he hit it, you knew it wasn't going to go. And then he had a decent look for birdie on 16. I mean, it was a kind of a far putt, but that one didn't go. And then we also forget he birdied 17, which is a tough little birdie.
Yeah, he had a great shot into there. So, I mean, he had some great shots and then couldn't finish and finished others. And that's golf. I had a girl today. There was a 3-person tie for medalists. So they actually had a playoff for it. I didn't have a girl in it. My girl shot one shot behind, and it's like, she's like 1 putt here, 1 putt lip out. And I go, and that's true. I go, we can all go back and look at one shot. I go, well, those girls that shot 86, 1 shot better than you have those same shots where they could have shot 85, 84 or whatever. And that's just golf. Everybody has a shot or two they'd love to have back.
Yeah, for Rory, it's
or
on 13. If he just could have put that in the middle of the green, 2-putted, then it's probably tournament over. But knowing Rory, even if he did do that, he probably makes a mistake somewhere else. I mean, right. It was compelling stuff there on Sunday, and we've watched enough sports to know that even if you're like me and you got a couple guys there, you think you're going to win it. The Masters really doesn't begin until the back nine on Sunday.
The second nine on Sunday.
Yeah,
say the back. Yeah,
we're not the announcers. We don't have to worry about that.
It is crazy that they have to have that written out, like on their call sheet and stuff, don't they? To remind themselves to do it. Second nine, second cut, not the rough. Patrons. Bunker, not a sand trap. Patrons. Maybe that's about it. But there's several things like that. It is a bunker. It's not a trap, not a sand trap. Which I do think the announcers say bunkers like everywhere. That's not just an Augusta thing.
Yeah. I say bunkers all the time too. I don't say sand trap hardly ever now that I think about it. So one thing on the Masters, we've talked about this for a couple years. I think the Masters app has to be about the best app ever created.
Just the website, the app, it's amazing what money can do.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, I saw someone.
And that's what's frustrating.
They work for them. They've worked for different television networks and sports. Someone commented on this and said the amount of people and money that the Masters puts in, other golf events or other sporting events can't do that week in and week out. There's a reason they put a lot of money and a lot of people into it.
And for 4 days, or actually like 7 days. But did you see the stat? How much money they make? $70 million in at the souvenir shop. There's people that, I mean, so let alone you get your ticket, you have to buy it, and your plane ticket and your hotel. And I would be the same way. Like when I went to Whistling Straits for the Ryder Cup, I think I spent like $300 at the gift shop for, I bought a pullover, a hat for Tyler. I think I got a flag thing. I'd probably spend $1,000 on stuff at the Masters. Can you just ship it to my house? I don't want to deal with this.
At the Masters, yeah, I think you can. You can have them ship it to you and all that stuff. And imagine if the Masters charged more for beer and food like they could, like a lot of sporting events do.
Even if they doubled it, it'd still be low.
Yeah, it'd probably be over $100 million. They make. I mean, you're talking about merchandise. I don't know what they make off food and drink, but
they don't make much.
Not much, but they could easily double their prices. I mean, what is it, $2 for a sandwich? They could charge $4 or $6, and people are still going to pay that, no problem. Because you go to a football game like at the Broncos, a hot dog, I don't even know, $8 or $10 nowadays.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
It might be more than that.
Might be more. A beer is $18.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Masters it's kind of sad it's over. It's usually the most fun golf tournament of the year, though.
It's just the best thing about it is we all know the course. All the other courses change. Now, we know Pebble Beach, we know St. Andrews, but we still don't know it as well because it is only once every 5 years or whatever it is. But when they say they're going down 12 or getting ready to hit the tee shot and the wind swirling on 12, and you don't even have to watch it. You just hear Nance or whoever's saying it. Oh, and he's long in the back bunker. You can picture that shot. You know exactly what happened. Or he's in the pine straw on the right side of 15. Can he make the shot out from it like Phil Mickelson did? Because we all have a picture over the last of our lifetimes, 40 years for me, 30 years for you, of somebody being in that exact spot and making a shot. Whether it's, the shot heard around the world, Gene Saracen, the double eagle, Mickelson shot from the pine straw, Bubba Watson in the playoff with the big hook, just different shots. Phil Mickelson's putt to win it, where he jumps up in the air 3 inches or whatever, Tiger winning and the fist pumps and you can just keep going down. Now we have Rory's little putt and fall into his knees, and that's just going to be part of it. They're going to show that shot into 3 feet or whatever it was, 2.5 feet going in. So that's what makes the Masters the best.
Yeah, you're right. The Masters is I was here at the hotel. I was, running to use the bathroom, doing stuff because it's 5-6 hours long when you're watching that final round. So, and you can hear the TV going, exactly what's going on. If you were listening on the radio, you're right. Any hold that they say so-and-so's here, or he's there, you can picture it in your mind, just like you said. Whereas if they're playing at Pebble, we know some of them, but some of the holes we wouldn't. The Masters, it's burned into our brains. Like, we know exactly where they're talking on every hole, where the players are at.
Yep. All right. That's probably good that's a full almost half hour on golf. We usually don't do that, but the Masters is special. And now is when we start watching golf and we start watching other things, because obviously football and basketball are done. So now we start paying more attention to golf, and then a few other things coming up. But as we always talk about, the NFL draft is right here, and the NFL does not rest. They don't want you straying too far away from the number one sports entertainment industry in America.
Yeah, the draft is coming up next week. I told you that I haven't paid as much attention this year as I'd like. I'm not as dialed in as I normally am. Just getting older with a career and everything. I can't be spending all day looking up mock drafts.
Come on, you haven't done your 27 mock drafts yet? No,
I'll tell you what, though, when I was in junior and high school, I used to do some mock drafts online, and it would take a full week or so to do them. I'd do first and second rounds. I'd have to go to Google or whatever, and I'd have to download the Giants logo and the Browns logo and save it to my computer. And then I'd have to type in the player and save their pictures, because how I would do it is I'd make the mock draft. I'd put pick 3, the New York Giants. So it'd be a picture of their logo. I'd have a paragraph written out about every pick, the player, and then I'd have a picture of the player. It took me like a week to 10 days to do that. I don't think I'm ever going to do that again. Maybe someday when I'm retired or something. But that was fun. Taylor and I used to do those during school. So when we weren't paying attention to the teachers or doing our homework, we were looking at that and doing some of those. But next week's going to be exciting. I do have some bets written down. I haven't made a ton. I mean, I told you last week I liked Emeka Egbuka under 29.5. I did make that one. I also made Jahdae Barron, the corner out of Texas, under 18.5. Those are 2 I've placed so far. And then the third one that I made, and I don't recommend people do this because everyone that I listen think it's going to be over. I bet the under on quarterback selected in the first round. It's at 2.5. And I got that at plus 320. It's a gut feeling. Like I said, I'm not as dialed in. I don't recommend people do that one, but I almost wonder if the media is a little bit higher on some of these quarterbacks than the actual teams are. So I'm only going with 2 in the first round. We'll see. It's kind of a long shot. That one's going to give me a sweat. If Shedeur falls past 9 with the Saints, then it's, does he get to Pittsburgh? Right. And if he's taken by the Steelers, then it's a sweat the remainder of the first round, pick 22 to 32, and then it's just a waiting game to see does the team that's actually pick and stay, or does all of a sudden at the bottom of the screen there's been a trade and here come the Browns or the Jets or the Saints or whoever. If that happens, then I know, they're probably coming up for a quarterback. I just lost the bet.
So is Shedeur falling that far?
Well, he had another meeting with the Giants. I mean, I still think there's a chance he's drafted at 3 by New York. I mean, they brought in Russ, they brought in Jameis. That coach and GM are on the hot seat. So I don't know. I mean, the Saints are the favorite right now to draft Shedeur. I think they're minus 100 because there's been some Derek Carr news that's come out that he's got shoulder problems. Now there's rumors coming out that the Saints are doing that on purpose, maybe to get some teams to jump them. That happens about this time where you also hear teams come out and say they like a bunch of different players. Yep. So hopefully other teams have to get ahead of them, and then a player drops to them. It's all smoke and mirrors and a bunch of games being played. But no one really knows for sure. It's not like last year where we knew for sure the first 3 picks were going to be quarterbacks. This year, it's obviously Cam Ward's going to go to Tennessee.
I'd say he's going number 1, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And I told you this from when I saw him. I mean, I was probably 20 yards from him. He is one big human being, and he has one cannon of an arm. Now, reading defenses, and he made Iowa State look silly when he was in there. And then when he went out, Iowa State looked way better. But he made Iowa State look silly, and he's really big, and he looked really, really good.
Yeah, I think it's a good pick for Tennessee. And then for the Browns, it sounds like they're locked into Travis Hunter at 2 and then potentially Abdul Carter at 3. So, if I was the Browns and I don't want a quarterback, I'd take Abdul Carter because I think it'd be great to have 2 pass rushers with him and Myles Garrett.
Is he the best prospect? If you rate the player, the number one player, Kiper's big board, is he the number one player, Carter?
He's probably, it's between him and Travis Hunter for me, or 1 and 2, because Travis Hunter is probably my favorite, but I want him to play both ways because I think it'd be cool. There's a lot of people that don't think he can, and I understand that because of injuries and total plays that you can do on your body in a given game in a given season. But I hope Travis can play a good amount both ways.
If you had to make him do one, which do you think he's actually better at?
I like him at corner.
No, I agree. I think there's more people that can do what you're supposed to do as a receiver. There's not so many people can do what you're supposed to do at corner. You have to have some gifts that many, many, many people don't have to play corner in the NFL. People do not understand how athletic those guys are. They are the best athletes on the team, hands down. Corners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's tougher to find great corners than receivers. There's more depth at receiver most years in the draft and in the NFL as a whole. So if you tell me he can be an all-pro corner and all-pro receiver, I'd rather have the corner most of the time because you can find a little bit more depth at receivers in the draft, free agency, all that kind of stuff. But I'm excited to see where he goes. And yeah, this is a weird year for the draft. I tell you about every other year, there's usually a surprise player that's picked in the top 10. Doesn't happen every year, but call it every other. There's a few I'm keeping an eye on. I haven't made any of these bets yet, but there's just a few I'm eyeing. Will Johnson, the corner out of Michigan, he's plus 180 to go top 10. Mel Kiper just did have him at 13, so he's close to that cutoff line. Jahdae Barrett, like I said, I bet on him already at his draft position, but he's 12-1 to go top 10. I think that's a guy to look at. And then Walter Nolan, the defensive tackle out of Ole Miss, he's 16-1. I'll probably bet one of those guys as a flyer to be a top 10 pick because this is the type of year where it's not a strong quarterback draft. There's a bunch of different opinions. Ted McMillan, the receiver, some people love him. Some people have him rated 4th or 5th as far as receivers go. So I think this is the year that we'll see a sort of a surprise player go in the top 10.
Oh, good. All right. Anything else on the draft?
Not a whole lot. There's a lot of people that, speaking of next year's draft, like I said, I'll have more for the draft next week, over this weekend, early next week. I'll really start looking at some more things. We could have a little bit more in-depth conversation about it, but a lot of fans, a lot of teams are saying just tank next year for Arch Manning. Well, there's 3 things for Arch Manning, and you hear teams say this a lot when there's a Trevor Lawrence or an Andrew Luck coming out, but I wrote down will he, will you, and will he for Arch Manning. First of all, will he even declare for the draft next year? We don't know that. If he has a mediocre year, his family might tell him to go back to Texas for another year. I can easily see that happening. And then will you, meaning will you be in position to even get him? Will you be picking in the top 5 or 6 where you have a chance to get him? And then again, will he even play for you? We saw what happened with Eli. And if you're a team like the Jets, the Panthers, the Cardinals, some of these other teams, if you've got the 1st or 2nd pick, you take Arch Manning. Will he demand to be traded like Eli did and like John Elway did back in the day? Because it worked out for both those guys. They got Super Bowls. So there's a lot of, you hear it all the time right now, just get Arch Manning next year. Well, first of all, only one team can get him whenever he does come out. And we don't know if he's going to come out, after next season. So there's a lot of what ifs. It sounds good. I see people online all the time, that are fans of bad teams. They said, we'll just get Arch next year. Easier said than done. Tanking in football is a lot harder than other sports. The year that Trevor Lawrence came out, the Jets were in line to get him all season. And then they won a meaningless game at the end of the year, didn't get him.
Right. And then the Texans did that too. They fired Lovie Smith over the deal. They're probably going to fire him anyway, but they won their last game, and then the Bears got the number 1 pick.
Yeah, and then they ended up with Stroud.
Yeah, and say it worked out for them. And maybe it'll work out for the Bears. They traded that pick, and then they got the number 1 pick again the next year because then the Panthers were the number 1 pick. So
yeah, and then just the draft. I made this bet a few months ago, Ashton Jeanty to be drafted by the Jaguars. It was 50-1. I threw a $5 bet on that. I was looking through some old bets. He's now down to 5-1 to go to the Jags. So keep an eye on that. That bet's changed a lot. So I'm hoping that Ashton Jeanty goes number 5 to the Jaguars, or even if they trade back a couple spots, maybe they get him. It was one I was trying to look for teams that I didn't think had a real good running game. Travis Etienne for them just hasn't panned out over the years. So I was kind of looking for a surprise team to take Ashton Jeanty. So I bet him at 51 to go to the Jags, and he's now down to 5-1. So that's one I'm going to be hopeful for there early on in the draft. And like I said, for next week, I'll have a couple more bets for people. You can bet certain players to go in the first round. One that I do like there, just to be a first round pick, it doesn't matter where they're selected, is guard Donovan Jackson out of Ohio State. He's plus 190 to go in the first round, and Mel Kiper just had him at 24 to the Vikings. So there is some value there on that one. And, speaking of the Vikings, I know some of our friends are Vikings fans. I think they only have 4 picks in the draft this year. So look for the Vikings to be one of those teams that's maybe going to trade down out of the first round.
I was trying to think. There's one thing I was going to ask you, and I'm having a brain freeze or something. I was going to ask you about somebody. Oh, Aaron Rodgers. Oh, and then the other thing is, if you were still here in the Midwest, would you go up to Green Bay and watch it next week? Since it's not very far away, and Green Bay is kind of your place anyway.
Yeah, I still have never been to a draft. I'd like to go. So yeah, Green Bay. If I was still living in Iowa, I probably would be looking to make the trip up there. I don't know if I'd have enough money to get a hotel in Green Bay necessarily.
I'd stay out an hour.
Yeah, stay out an hour. There's some places. But yeah, I definitely would try to get there. And then as far as Aaron Rodgers goes, I mean, most people think he's going to sign with the Steelers. That's probably where he ends up. But I think everybody can tell he wants to go to Minnesota. And I think he's holding on to see what happens in the draft.
Right.
And then maybe being hopeful that J.J. McCarthy isn't healing like he should, or isn't progressing like the Vikings hope. And then maybe the Vikings will bring him in. But otherwise, it's really down to those two, and maybe just down to the Steelers for Rodgers, unless there's some sort of injury to somebody.
Does he want to go to the Vikings because he knows they're pretty good? I mean, he wants to win. I mean, they proved last year. They just plugged in Darnold. They were really good.
Yeah, I think he looks at the offensive talent, specifically receivers, O-line, running game, all better than what Pittsburgh has right now, tight end even. So, yeah, I think he looks at the Vikings as a better situation. It's got to be mutual, though. And I think the Vikings are a little bit interested, but they don't want to bring in Rodgers unless they absolutely have to, because, again, he's a media distraction.
Well, yeah, and you can't sit him.
No.
If he's there, he's your starting quarterback. So you can't even say, all right, if JJ's not ready, then you're our guy. That can't be it. You're our guy, no matter what. If JJ's ready, not ready, whatever. So he's not going there to be a backup.
No, I'm sure he wants something. He probably wants at least 20, 30, 40 million guaranteed for a year. I'm sure the Vikings would love, like, hey, we'll bring you in for $5 million, but we can't guarantee you're going to be the starter. That's not going to work either. So I think he's going to wait to see what happens after the draft, see if the Steelers select anybody, which they obviously got to get a quarterback at some point. And then, the Vikings, it's kind of a waiting game to see how JJ progresses.
Yep. All right. Moving on to college football and then just kind of college sports in general. Transfer portal drama now in the football realm. I believe the portal opened today or tomorrow, but people are already going in. Last weekend, I'm just going to say Nico. I don't know how to say his last name.
Nico, I'm going to leave you.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm going to leave you. And I'm going to say, report it. And now, here's what makes some of this all bad is none of us really know what these guys are getting paid or what their contracts say. What it's led to believe, he signed a 4-year, $10 million deal that paid him even when he was in high school, which Tennessee got in trouble for but didn't care. And there's no enforcement on these rules. So works out to roughly $2.5 million a year. reportedly, he threatened to sit out, not participate in the spring game or the end of spring practice. And he wanted $4 million and a car, whatever. He wanted more money. Because what is happening here, and it's all intertwined, is now all these football players are seeing how much money these basketball players are getting. And they're like, I'm better than that guy on the basketball team, and he's getting $3 million, and I'm only getting $2.5 million, and I'm the quarterback for a team that made a playoff. I want more. And that's what's happening. And it's not just he's the most high profile one, but I believe this when spring practices end in the next week or so for all these teams, and I believe the window to get in is like 2 weeks, 10 days, 2 weeks here. You're going to see some guys go in, and it'll be interesting to see what they got paid, what they get paid, because all these basketball guys just got paid a lot of money, and the same guys that are paying for the basketball players are paying for the football players, and everybody wants a raise. And right or wrong, a lot of these really, really rich people that have a lot of money in the stock market have lost a lot of money here in the last few weeks. Now, it's going to rebound. The stock market always does. But right now, we've lost 10 to 12% in the last month. That's real money that people don't have that they had a month ago. So, but needless to say, Tennessee said, take a hike. Josh Heupel, nobody's bigger in the program, not me, not you, nobody. So he is no longer with Tennessee. We're going to see if this works. If he gets what he demands from somebody else, he don't care. He gets what he wants. Now, he would probably like to stay at Tennessee, maybe. I don't know. But overall, these guys are hired guns. They don't care what they put on for their uniform. You can't blame these guys either, because he's not like a first surefire. He's not Andrew Luck. He's not, for sure NFL quarterback. So get what you can while you can. But these football players now are seeing what basketball players get. Now, the same thing in the NBA guys get a lot more than the NFL guys. Basketball is just different. You can pay a basketball guy $4 million. You only got to pay one other guy. And you can be pretty good, 2 really good guys. Football, you go pay a quarterback $4 million. But if you don't have anybody else, you're out. You're not going to be very good as a team. That is the difference in basketball and football. 2 guys can make you a really good basketball team. 1 or 2 guys in football will sure help. Think of Colorado. They're really good, 9-3, Heisman Trophy winner, compete, but you're not winning a national championship with just 2 good guys. You can potentially win a national title with 2 good guys in basketball.
Yeah, for football, we talked about this before the beginning of football season and during it. And I said this many times, it's all going to work back toward the middle now. There's been an overcorrection where players couldn't get paid, then they could. Now we're getting back to the middle. And if you're someone that's a little bit more old school and you don't necessarily like the players getting paid, this whole Nico situation is great. It's a good thing because it's putting power back into the coaching staff in the university. So it's working back toward the middle, like all things do over time. And what's happening here now is he's probably going to be made an example of. I don't know if any of these big schools are going to offer him a ton of money, and it's part of it. I mean, I told you many times on here, and you said the same thing. Some of these donors who donate 6-7 figures, whatever it is, over a period of time, they're going to get burned. And once they get burned, once, twice, 3 times, that money is going to dry up a little, or there's going to be different parameters put into place before players get paid. And it sounds like that collective's coming in here within the next couple of years. From everything I'm hearing. So that'll help put some guardrails in place. But, I keep seeing everybody post online, college sports is ruined. No, this is working back toward the middle now. This is good. Everybody's freaking out thinking this is bad. If you're an old school person, a purist of the game or something, this is a good thing because the program and the coaching staff is taking control again. And I wouldn't be surprised if he gets blackballed by other coaches.
That's what I'm wondering if.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll pay $1 million. That's just the going rate for quarterback. That's fine, but that's not what you were getting at Tennessee, and that's not what you were asking. Yeah, I mean, Iowa State would pay him $1 million. Now, he may be not a good teammate or anything, and then neither team wants him. But to think that the Iowa State quarterbacks aren't getting $1 million, you're sadly mistaken. I would say both of the guys are.
Yeah, I think you said that when he came over from South Dakota State, I think it was 1.2 was the rumor that was going around. So yeah, someone's going to get Nico on their team, but they, like you said, they may only give him $1 million compared to the $4 reportedly that he was asking for. So he may not get the money that he wanted, or it sounds like his dad's really involved. Well, his dad may have just screwed him here, and yet now we're seeing programs and coaches take control back of the situation.
Right.
And put a little bit more power into the teams. And like I said, once they get guardrails put into place and the collective gets figured out, all this is going to work back toward the middle. There was an overcorrection for years where players didn't get paid, even though we know they did under the table. Then there's the free for all that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And now, like I said, we're getting back toward that middle ground.
Well, and in the last month, it's just been crazy. And we talked about this last week, the Joshua Jefferson situation at Iowa State. They come to agreement, he's coming back to Iowa State, but then all of a sudden he starts seeing some numbers of other people, like the people that left Iowa State because they weren't good enough to play, were getting more than him at Pittsburgh. Two of Iowa State guys went to Pittsburgh for over $1 million each. And one of them was a starter, good player, Deshaun Jackson, but one of them couldn't see the floor, the freshman guard from Chicago, Indricitis. Rumor over $1 million. So he looks around and like, oh, I'm way better than those two guys. And you can't blame him. And then also, so does he sniff around a little bit? Maybe. Or it's legal. It's not, there's no rules. The offer with LSU came at him for $3 million. I promise you Iowa State didn't pay him $3 million. But I don't know. I would say it's 1.5 or so. And
yeah,
that's what's happening with Iowa State right now is they still have, I think, 2 scholarships, and they don't have the money to pay the guys they would like to have in there because they had to increase his pay. And then here's what happens as well. Taman Lipsey, Milan Monsilovic, and Nate Heise, the other core returners, look around and say, well, he just got a raise. Can I get a raise? Because they can go do the same thing. They go into the portal. So I'm sure, let's just say, all of a sudden, Joshua Jefferson gets more money. But overall, it cost Iowa State $1 million. Well, that's one more player or 2 more players they could have had. Now they don't have the money. And so now they're waiting for a guy that's willing to come to Iowa State for really cheap.
These players, like you said, you can't blame them because there are no rules right now. They got to take advantage of the money. And I think there's a lot of players, too, that whatever college they start out at, I think they'd like to stay there, that maybe it's close to home. It's where their dad, their grandpa went. It's where their family's always been. But if you're getting 2-3 times the money, it's tough not to move right now. And until we get those guidelines put into place, it's going to be up and down like this. Someone was talking about, the NFL, and you hear about players, every year there's a handful of stars that hold out. They want contracts. Well, those are the top 5 to 10 players on any given roster. Player 47 on an NFL roster can't hold out. the team will be like, see ya.
We'll go.
We'll find
Tyler Sash. He just wanted to be on the team.
Mm-hmm.
He had to, whatever they told him to do, he asked how high, whatever. Just whatever he could do. Because if he didn't, well, just like what did happen, he got with the Adderall and everything, they were like, see ya. Because we can find another guy just like you. Because he wasn't that top 5-10 guy, which that's a whole surreal thing. And the Des Moines Register had a great piece on Josh Sash going back to Iowa and what it all meant to him and with his brother and everything. That was a really good article by the Des Moines Register. But just in general, can't blame anybody. But you're 100% correct that it's turning back around where maybe there is the tipping point might have been tipped with him and with his situation. And it will be interesting to see where he ends up. And the rumor is that Dan Lanning is the one that ratted him out he called Heupel and said, "Hey, your boy is shopping himself out."
Yeah, I do think this is going to be the tipping point of Nico. People won't like to hear it, but they're probably making an example out of him. Like we said, he'll get signed by somewhere. He'll end up playing college football for a major university, but he probably is not going to get paid a lot of money. And we'll see some other example. I'm sure these coaches, right, wrong, legal or not, I don't know right now, but that are going to get together and say, "Hey, we've got to have a breaking point too, where we can't do this every week or every other day. We can't give a guy more money and then 5 days later he wants more, and then 3 weeks later he wants more." It doesn't work like that. These contracts in the NFL, even, they're sometimes they can change them a little bit, they can rip them up, but for the most part, like I said, guys 53 through 10 on a roster are kind of stuck with their contract. Like they can't really negotiate. It's the top 5 or 10 that can kind of demand things, but you're right, though. I think this is the tipping point, though, for college football in moving it back in the right direction that we need.
I did hear this, and this is a relatively good idea. They're signing contracts. Now, the contracts aren't worth anything, obviously, but kind of like coaches, their contracts really aren't worth anything either. But if you want to fire, get rid, let's just say, because here's the other thing that happens. Some of these kids are going in the portal are getting cut. I mean, so it's not all just the players wanting to leave. Sometimes the coaches are like, "You're out." Numbers game. We just recruited over you. You're not good enough here. That is happening. So almost what needs to happen. So in that situation, Iowa State, I'm just going to use Iowa State as an example. And I'm going to use Indricitis, the freshman that ended up going to Pitt. And they cut him. Let's just say they did. I don't know if that's true or not, but they cut him. Well, in the contract, it says we are going to essentially pay you off, buy you out of your contract, give you $500,000, you're gone. Okay, whatever that was, that's fine. Okay. Let's use Deshaun Jackson, who was a starter. Probably they wanted back, but he realized he could get more money from somebody else. So he chose to leave. Okay. All right. You got to buy out your contract with us. $300,000. You pay Iowa State. Go on your merry way. That's what I heard that. And that's kind of what happens with coaches. West Virginia wants Drake coach. West Virginia has to pay Drake. Or actually, the coach is responsible for it, but the college pays it. But yeah, you want to leave, you're responsible for this money. We want to fire you or cut you, we'll pay you. That's not a bad idea, in my opinion.
No, it's not a bad idea at all. And you've talked about this before too. Not all players that go in the transfer portal, they're not leaving because they're angry necessarily. Some of them are encouraged to leave. Like, hey, you're probably not going to play, and you're probably not even going to be a backup. You're fighting just to be a third or fourth stringer or whatever the case might be.
And speaking of that,
to go elsewhere potentially.
Yeah, Brendan Sullivan, Iowa quarterback that started a couple games last year, went in the portal yesterday or the day before. I think that's what that was. Gronkowski is going to be the starter, and I believe Hank Brown is going to be number 2. So he's got really no chance to play. He's got 1 year left to play. Go somewhere and play, because it's not going to be as a Hawkeye. So that's one of those mutual. I'm sure he didn't get cut, but it's like, hey, I'm just going to be real with you. You're not playing unless something really bad happens in the quarterback room. And so,
they were probably just honest with them and said, hey, you're not going to see the field hardly at all unless it's a blowout or an injury happens. So you're probably better off. We know you want to play. It's your final year. Go explore your options.
Yeah. And that's unfortunate. And it's not unfortunate. That's just the business of college football. And quarterback is a special position because only one guy plays. Every other position, for the most part, has more than one person. Because even a lineman, you're only one center plays. Well, if you're good enough, they'll move you to guard. If you just can't quite beat out that center, they'll find another spot for you. But there's not another quarterback.
Well, at Iowa, Sullivan, we could find a place for him to run some reverses or maybe catch some passes.
Yeah.
I would like to keep him for trick plays at least.
Yeah. So, all right. WNBA draft was last night. Paige Beckers goes number 1 to Texas. And I keep going back to that. I think 2020 top 5 high school basketball players were all picked in the top 5 of the WNBA draft over the last few years. Unbelievable. They're all great players. Hopefully they're all going to make a big impact on the college basketball. College women's basketball already did that and now going to make a huge impact on the WNBA. The start is great for it. Hopefully Beckers can help Texas take a step up. And you just wonder, now I understand that class is special, but in the men's game, it's just not even close to what that happens. And why were those 5 so rock solid? That was your Andrew Luck. That was your, just cannot miss prospects, all of them. And they knew it.
Yeah, it was a heck of a class. They've all turned out to be really good. And I assume Paige is going to have a really good rookie year and career. She's obviously a big favorite to win Rookie of the Year. So she was the obvious number 1 pick there for Dallas. So she goes in there with Enrique Carrington, Delissa Smith, who used to be on the Fever. She's on Dallas now. So I don't know how good they're going to be. We'll have to see what her growing pains are like as a rookie. Then obviously Lucy Olson goes to Washington, along with my other favorite player outside of Iowa is Georgia Amore. She went to Washington as well. So Washington's now kind of they're kind of my number 2 team in the WNBA. I've got Clark with the Fever. I've got Lucy Olson there in Washington. And then of course, Kate Martin in Golden State area there, or whatever they're called.
The Valkyrie.
The Valkyrie. Yeah. There we go. So now I kind of got 3 teams, I guess I can pay attention to. We'll see how. I'm going to watch all the Fever games again, of course. And then, if Lucy plays a little bit or Kate Martin, I'm sure I'll watch a little bit of them. So it's exciting. Like you said, that class, those top 5 players, top 10, they've all lived up to the hype. You don't see that very often in sports. So it's another really good rookie class coming in. WNBA is expanding, and I was happy for Lucy Olson to get selected where she did. I was looking for her over and under draft position, kind of like I do with the NFL draft. And of course, DraftKings didn't have that, which didn't surprise me. They just, all you could really bet was who was going to be the first, second, third, and fourth pick, which I didn't do any of that. But I was looking for her draft position because I was going to go, I figured it'd be right around 22.5 or 24.5. And I wanted to throw a little bit on the under, which would have hit, but happy. And she's from the East Coast. I think she grew up like 2 or 3 hours from Washington. So hopefully that'll be a good place for her to land.
Yeah, good. All right, and then kind of last on our thing here, we're just hit the hour mark, so don't want to go too much longer here. The NBA play-in game starts tonight. I can't tell you who's playing or who's winning. And then the hockey playoffs start later as well. Now is the time where we might talk a little bit about it. I'll be flipping through channels. I'll actually stop and watch some hockey and actually stop and watch some basketball because the games matter. 82 game series or season, just a little bit too much. We all know our NBA averseness to load management. No one plays. Well, you don't have the load management now. They're all playing every game for the most part. A little bit might depend on how the series is going and if there actually isn't a little bit of an injury. But everybody's playing. Everybody's giving it their all. And now we're going to see who the best teams are.
Yeah, Golden State's playing right now, and it looks like they're up 14 on the Grizzlies. So it's just a little bit before half. So that obviously in the NBA, a 13-point lead that can be gone in a minute and a half in the NBA. So that still got a half a game left there. The Lakers, I'm looking forward to watching them. I bet them to win the West shortly after they got Luka at 6.5 to 1. So that's the one NBA team I'll be rooting for just because I got a bet on them. Obviously, Oklahoma City is the favorite. They're in the Western Conference, but they've got a young team, and typically, from my understanding in the NBA, it takes teams a few years in the playoffs to get over the hump, to get to the finals. So that's why I'm kind of hopeful that the Lakers can maybe do it. But you're right, this is the time where we'll talk a little bit of NBA, a little bit of NHL, The Avalanche are one of the betting favorites to win the Stanley Cup. They call that the toughest trophy in all the sports to win. They might have to play Dallas early on in the playoffs. I haven't even checked to see if that's set yet or not. But
I don't know for sure.
I'll be tuning in. I've probably watched 6 or 7 Laker games this season. I probably watched 3 or 4 Avalanche games, but here the rest of the way, I'll probably watch most of them going forward.
Yeah, it's one of those. Now you turn it on.
Mm-hmm.
So, really, that's about it. Trev, nothing else. Had this beer tonight for the first time. Wisconsin Varsity Ale from Potosi. When I went up to Milwaukee, I got a bunch of beer.
We got Badger on there.
It does have a Badger on there, so not a Badger fan, but for the Hawk fans, it's the Evil Empire.
Well, it's the one I respect Wisconsin even as an Iowa fan. That's because they're kind of they play like Iowa, run the ball, O-line, D-line, defense, 13-10 type games.
Yeah, and then lots of white guys on the basketball floor.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, I did have a question for you. I was going to give you a hard time, or you or Zach a hard time. Who's supposed to pay me for picking Rory for winning the Masters?
What do you mean? I paid you.
Did you?
Yeah. Should be in your Venmo.
Okay, I didn't even see it come through. Maybe you did. So no, I didn't
so.
know.
I paid somebody. Make sure it is in there.
I'll check it. I'll let you know. I didn't know if that was you or Zach that was supposed to do that, because I was going to give you a hard time. I know because Zach was trying to. He added my old number to that chat, which is why I had no idea that the draft was even going on. So luckily, you guys got me added in there, right? Or someone did. Right.
Make sure you do, because I did. I Venmo'd you, or at least.
Okay, I'll check. I'm sure you did. Oh yeah, there it is. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't even see it come through.
That's like, well, somebody got $280.
Well, I was kind of hoping it was Zach so I could give him a hard time on here and he'd hear it. So never mind.
All righty. All right. Thanks a lot, Trev. We'll talk again next week.
All right. Have a good one.